Welcome to the Warrior Code podcast, where we live by a code of strength, structure, faith, and purpose. Today, we're exploring our fourth principle, structure and discipline. Having established our warrior identity, built faith as our foundation, and embraced courage in action, we now face the challenge of creating systems that sustain our growth. Many men believe discipline is about willpower, about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to do hard things. But that's not where the warrior's approach to discipline is. True discipline isn't born from willpower. It's created through structure. It's about building systems that make success inevitable rather than optional. Let me get real with you for a moment. I used to wake up each day with good intentions. I'd tell myself, today I will be better. Today I'll pray more. Today I'll be present with my family. But by noon, I'd be swept away in the chaos of life, reactive instead of proactive. And by evening, I'd be filled with regret over another day wasted. Sound familiar? Maybe you've experienced that cycle of good intentions followed by disappointment. Maybe you've wondered why you can't seem to consistently be the man you want to be. The gap between intention and action is where most men live their entire lives. And it's a painful place to exist, brother. But here's what changed everything for me. I stopped relying on motivation and started building structure. I realized that discipline isn't about feeling motivated to do something. It's about doing it regardless of how you feel. And the only way to maintain that kind of discipline is through intentional structure. My mornings became sacred, protected time for prayer, reading, and physical training. Not when I felt like it, but every single day, no matter what. I built boundaries around my phone use. I created specific times to connect with my wife and children that couldn't be moved or compromised. These weren't grand, heroic systems. They were simple, consistent structures that protected what mattered most. True warrior discipline is built through creating morning and evening routines that anchor your day in purpose. Setting boundaries that protect your priorities from invasion. Eliminating the small decisions that drain your willpower. Building accountability with other men who won't accept your excuses. Measuring what matters so you can see your progress. When you build these structures, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself to do the hard things and more about simply following the path you've already laid out. What I've discovered is that structure creates freedom. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. When you have clear systems in place, you're no longer exhausting yourself with endless decisions and willpower battles. You're free to pour your energy into whatever truly matters to you. This doesn't mean life becomes rigid or mechanical. It means the essential things are protected so you can be fully present and engaged in each moment. Structure and discipline aren't about restricting your life. They're about creating space for it to flourish. They're the framework that allows your identity, faith, and courage to become consistent realities rather than occasional experiences. As we close today, I want to speak directly to the man who's nodding his head right now. You've heard all this before. You've tried morning routines, you've set boundaries, you've made commitments, but somehow you keep finding yourself back in the same patterns, the same struggles, the same disappointments. Let me tell you what I finally had to admit to myself. My intelligence and pride were my greatest barriers to growth. I knew what to do, but I insisted on doing it alone, on my terms, in my way. And it kept failing. The breakthrough came when I surrendered my pride and joined other men on this journey. When I allowed myself to be held accountable, to be challenged, to be seen in my weakness, when I stopped being the lone wolf and became part of the pack. This is why we've created this brotherhood. because we know that structure and discipline aren't sustained in isolation. They're forged in community. They're strengthened by the men who call you higher when you want to settle, who check in when you're tempted to drift, who celebrate your victories and help you learn from your failures. If you're tired of knowing what to do but not doing it consistently, I invite you to join us. Stop trying to outthink the process and simply commit to walking it out with other warriors who are on the same path. Thank you for joining me today on the Warrior Code podcast. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and remember, you are a warrior.